Latoska Price is a technical service manager at Synthomer. She holds a bachelor's degree in chemistry and a master's in science and polymer technology. She says several people have served as mentors for her during her education and in her career, and she urges students to find people to help them with their own academic and career journeys.
Hi, I am Latoska Price. At Synthomer, I'm the regional technical service manager for the coatings in the Americas. What does that mean? Well, as a technical service manager, what you do actually is you work with customers from a technical level. So you're not really in sales. You're not dealing with any sales types of information, but what you do is you help customers work with your products, and you give them all kinds of technical advice if they need it, whether they need to know things about durability, if they need to know things about basic formulating, what they need to know about your product in their formulation if they're using in something they already have. We also, I work with the plants as well to make sure that products are getting out at the time that they need to, and that if there's any kind of issues with any kind of synthesis or anything like that, that I know about it fairly quickly, and then we can solve the problems as quickly as we can.
Okay. And could you please describe your educational background?
Sure. I have a bachelor's of science in chemistry, and I have a master's of science in polymer technology. I got my bachelor's from the University of Detroit Mercy, and I received my master's from Eastern Michigan University.
Okay. So that's the background. So these are the profile questions that I'd like to ask you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Coming through your career path and your educational path, did you have a mentor or mentors?
I had a few mentors, not a lot, but I did have two mentors that were really very, very helpful and instrumental in helping me in my career.
Could you just talk about that a little bit? Who were they?
Sure. Well, one mentor actually was my chemistry professor. I guess I can make it kind of be back up a little further. In high school, I had a fantastic chemistry teacher. Her name was Mrs. Elliott, and she actually worked in the Henry Ford soybean laboratories. At that time, Henry Ford wanted to do with the soybean what George Washington Carver did with the peanut. So she actually had a chance to work on, different things made out of soybeans. And she was also a nuclear physicist. And she brought that information and that type of technology to, high school chemistry. We were doing nuclear fission reactions and, calculations and things like that. And so it was really a very, very instrumental. And she said, well, yeah, this is a good, you have a talent for this. And I felt really, buoyed by that. So that was the first mentor. And then when I got into college, then one of my chemistry professors was an inorganic chemist, actually. And one day I was having some issues with a class, and he said, oh my goodness, don't ever worry about that. I'll get somebody to help you. And he did. And he actually helped me. He actually got a tutor for me who tutored me for free. And that helped me, get through the classes that I needed, and just helped me with some of the understanding that I needed to have. So he was very, very instrumental in my success, in helping me get my bachelor's degree. And then the other mentor that I had was when I first started working. She was somebody I went to school with. She was my TA, or a teacher's assistant in the lab when I was working at my undergrad. And she was working on her PhD at the time. And she was very instrumental in, getting you started in terms of meeting people, and in terms of, what kind of organizations to belong to back in those days, because I've been in the industry over 37 years. Back in those days, there were a lot more interactions with, a chemistry club with the American Chemical Society, or coatings clubs with the Detroit Society for Coatings Technology. There was a lot more interaction with people, and she was instrumental in helping me, create a network.
It's interesting that you put it kind of in that sense, that your high school teacher you described, that was someone that had buoyed you.
Yes.
And so I guess that brings me to my next question. What advice would you have for kids that are exploring the world today, students, young students, and trying to figure out what they're interested in? What would you tell a kid like that?
Well, I would say just don't put any limits on what you can do, especially in the science, because most people I found throughout the years, they say, oh, the science, it has so much math, but really the math helps you to do the understanding. And, when you work with people, especially like I was mentioning with my high school teacher, who was, a wonderful mathematician on top of that. So, you learn how to use log tables, you learn how to use all these tools that actually help with your understanding of chemistry, because chemistry is a very mathematic-based science as well. And so you really start to learn more and you say, oh, I can make the math work for me. And that's what you have to just not be afraid of that. Just go for it.
Okay. All right. This is sort of a companion to that question. Looking back on your education, looking back on your career, what would you have wanted to hear as a kid, as a student, in thinking about STEM education?
What would I like to have known as a student?
Yeah, because I mean, you're in a STEM career. It's been your entire education,
Right.
and it's worked out really well. The goal of this program is to get more students, particularly Black and Brown students, involved in STEM, to understand that STEM isn't just the hardline science, technology, engineering, and math, but that it's a set of skills that opens up all sorts of possibilities. That's sort of our goal.
Yes.
And so I guess thinking about it from that perspective, what would you tell a kid that's considering in STEM, or what would you have wanted to hear when you were a kid thinking about that?
Probably one of the things I would like to have heard more about was, if you pick a chemistry career or any of the other STEM parts of it, you don't have to necessarily go into engineering. There's medicine, there's pharmaceuticals, there's all these other areas that really encompasses that the background that I have, but you could go in many, many different directions, even cosmetic chemistry and all these other types of chemistry, just to kind of just talk about the broadness of the area and not just kind of make it so industrialized. Just talk about the breadth of it. I wish I'd heard more about that, later, earlier.
Right. Okay, last question. What does STEM mean to you? I know that's a very broad, somewhat loaded question, but that's a question. What does STEM mean to you?
What it means to me is I think of it as an exciting field. I mean, it means something to me that I get a chance to really work with a lot of the things that I've learned, over the years. Not only what I learned in school, but how to apply it in many areas, especially in the coatings area, which is where I have spent most of my career. And being able to actually see things, have an idea and actually see things kind of come to fruition and actually make a product and actually see something that actually creates sales and all these other things, it makes it really a lot of fun. And I think that's the other part of it too, is just to realize that, science for me is fun. It really is. I read about it all the time. I always feel like I'm learning something every day with whatever I'm reading in the chemistry world, or if it's in the physics world, or any of those other sciences that I like. Just there's always something new to learn, and I just like to stay open-minded with it at all times, and just enjoy that journey. Just if you can find a mentor, that's always great. But don't forget, there's still other societies. There's the National Science Foundation. There's American Chemical Society. There are plenty of places where you can talk to other people. You can actually, find mentorships. Lots of people would love to help other folks. So, never feel you can't reach out and ask for help. Never feel that you can't do that, because there's so many people. You'll be surprised how many people will just, be glad to help you and to help steer you in the ways that really, in areas that really interest you.
This interview is part of a series of profiles for NeoSTEM's I Am STEM initiative, a public awareness campaign to elevate the visibility and accessibility of the many STEM career pathways available to underserved students throughout Northeast Ohio. Please visit www.neostem.org to hear more inspiring stories.